So about 30 minutes ago, my sister texted me, asked me if I could give a talk about friendship today at 7 o'clock. It is 4:47 right now. My initial thought is absolutely not. I cannot put together a talk in 3 hours. But before I could send the text back saying no, I thought about how today's feast day is Saint Basil, something like that. And the homily today was mostly about his friendship with Saint Gregory also. So I guess that's a double sign that I should give this talk. And plus it'll be a good how to write a talk. Usually you have a couple weeks to plan this, but I'm gonna do it within 3 hours, so let's get after it. Okay, so it's 5:45 right now. I just wrote the bulk of the talk. I am not really in the picture. Just a second. Okay, so I just wrote a majority of the talk right here. It's on like 3 pages. It's mostly just bullet points of things I want to say. And so I'm not gonna act like I'm a professional at giving talks, but I have given quite a few. And I don't know how many like how-tos are out there on giving talks. I don't think I've ever looked up one. But when it comes to giving a talk to, so my crowd is high schoolers, so that's the biggest thing, is figuring out who you're talking to. So I'm gonna be giving a talk to high schoolers about friendship. And now, the best way I can do this is put myself back into 3 or 4 years ago when I was in high school, and what I knew and what I wish I would have known back in high school. And then I can go from there. So that's the main part of my talk, is I want to hit on what I wish I knew when I was in high school when it comes to friendships. Now it's a good setup today because it is the feast day of Saint Basil, and Basil, I still don't know how to pronounce his name. I need to figure that out before the talk. But he and Saint Gregory are well known for being just great friends, and how they pushed each other to heaven, and how everything they did in life helped each other. So I kind of want to hit on that too. So that was the start. I opened up with a little joke about how I only had 3 hours to prepare for this talk, and then, which is good. It is always good to open up with something kind of funny, and I'm not really that funny of a guy, but if it's forced enough, sometimes it's funny. So what I did was I went over a little bit of facts of those two saints and how they lived their life and how they pushed each other to heaven. And then I went into the meat of my talk. And just like what I do in this vlog, most of my talks I love making very practical. It would be easy to go out there and be like, good friends are so important, you should get good friends. But at a certain point, you need to include what are some practical steps? What are some good practical steps on figuring out who your good friends are? I point out the 3 types of friends that I know. I know there's 3 or 4 or whatever, but basically I gave one of my friends a call. She spilled all of her knowledge on friendship, and while she was doing that, I was just writing notes. So of course, like everything else, not all of this information will be coming straight from my brain, because how boring and unuseful would that be if it all just came from me? So gave my friend a call. She enlightened me of the 3 friendships, of the 3 types of friends. So I talked about those for a little bit, and then I talked about where to go from here, how to identify those 3 types of friendships, which friends to learn from and which friends to help. And that is the basis of my talk. One thing I'm gonna try that I haven't tried yet is I'm gonna take 2 of the kids up, and they're gonna stand right next to me, and I'm gonna use them as kind of props for a little bit of the talk. I haven't done this before, but I saw someone do it, and it was just, especially in the high school age, it like got all of them to pay attention even more. So I'm gonna try that out, see how that works. But other than that, it is 5:52 right now. I'm gonna go shower and head to the Adoration Chapel, because that is the most important part of this whole thing, is sitting down and going over your talk, going over it again and again and again, and filling in those spots that the Holy Spirit wants you to hit on, and making sure that this talk isn't coming from me, but it's coming through me, from the Holy Spirit, through me, to these kids. That is the most important part. That is such an important part when it comes to being nervous too. Realize that this isn't coming from you. As long as you can realize that this is coming from the Holy Spirit, usually those nerves just kind of wash away. So let's go see how this works out. So yesterday's talk went great, I think. You always have those kids that are like really getting into it, and they're like, yeah, and they're like shaking their head and they're like into it. And then you have the other kids that are like, when are you gonna stop? So like, it's just hard to continue. It's hard giving a talk to high schoolers sometimes, because you just do have those kids that are just like, just stop talking so I can look at my phone or something. I don't know. But I walked into the Adoration Chapel before, and I actually was able to have an hour of adoration before the talk. And what I just kind of said the talk over and over and over again in my mind, and just kind of getting down what I want to say and what the Holy Spirit wants me to say. There was one part of the talk that the Holy Spirit was just kind of bringing to my mind and really wanted me to speak on it, I think, was the 3 types of friendships. The language I used for him was the friendship, the useful friendship, and then the no-depth friendship. So real quick, recap: virtuous friendship, pretty self-explanatory, good, solid friendships that you're vulnerable with that person and you know that person. And again, I didn't really know a lot about this until my friend explained most of this to me. But then the second one is the useful. So like in math class, when you're friends with someone, but you're solely friends with them because you're in the math class together. Like you enjoy each other's company during math, but after that you guys don't really talk. Well, say one friend is really good at math. The other friend benefits from that. That's a useful relationship because they get a better grade because this person's good at math. Well, this person like buys them a candy bar because they want to give something too. People don't go into useful friendships wanting to use the other person, but it just ends up to where both people benefit from it. The no depth friendship, that's just what I call it. The no depth friendship is like guys on a sports team, like my basketball team. Some of the guys I just didn't talk to unless we were playing basketball. If we were playing basketball, we were talking about basketball, and I enjoyed being around them during basketball, but then after that we just didn't talk. I never got into a deep conversation with them. I never talked about the faith. I never talked about my vulnerabilities to them. So there's no depth to the friendship, but it's not a bad friendship. So those are the 3. I told them to reflect on their friends and place their friends in those right friendship groups so that we can, from there, get a foundation. From our virtuous friends, we can start a foundation. We can start holding each other accountable, because you don't want to take a friend from the no depth and base your standard on what they're doing. You want to take someone that you have a virtuous friendship with and talk to them about setting up a rule for themselves, setting up a standard for yourselves that you two can keep each other accountable. And it doesn't just have to be 2, it can be 3, 4, but you want to keep each other accountable. And from that foundation, then we can start reaching from the other 2 areas and start building them up also. And hopefully BCS would be grabbing a friend with no depth, someone from the no depth category, and eventually becoming vulnerable with them, becoming great friends with them to where it is a virtuous and uplifting friendship. That was the main point of yesterday's talk. I just wanted to throw that out there. I am tired.
I'm gonna go take a nap after I post this. Bye-bye.